Here, come on now, you see me? Why? Hello there. Hello there. Hello, everybody. Mm, let's say good day because for some of us it's good morning, afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you work and how you work and where you work, right? So, thank you so much. My name is Angela. They call me Angie B. Element, Angie B. Love for short, um, because love is the final element of all of it. So, unfortunately, it's been a while since I've been on here with different things that I've been having to face, um, situations, and I just wanted to make sure I came back correct when I'm speaking on this topic that I'm focused on today. Um, First of all, thank you to all of you all out there, all the survivors. I commend you. I send my love and respect to you all who are going through any mental health issues, know anyone going through any mental health issues, have accepted that you also are going through mental health issues. We all need to support because, from my opinion, I believe we all, since COVID and probably before then, are suffering some sort of mental instability right now to where we're just all trying to do it together. You know, we're all working on getting it together. And some of us are more affected than others. So I just want to put that out there first. And I want to thank you all for listening. Um, Once again, I also want to say that I am not a doctor, meaning I have not studied for anything I may be mentioning. This is all based upon my opinion and my logic and my experience with a child that is suffering from a mental disorder as well, and with my acceptance that I also have been a survivor of it and will keep surviving. With that said, mm, the first thing I want to say is what I have found. All right. So what I found with people that are diagnosed with mental disorders and accepting and understanding that, I think it has been stigmatized a lot, uh, where there was a huge misunderstanding about dealing and living with mental disorders, loving with mental disorders. Um, so, in the past, a lot of people used to call it different things, retardation, crazy, and all of these negative words to describe a situation where any one of us are capable of being victims of trauma, not have full understanding, or not be willing to accept things, or confused about how we accept things like loss, like life, even, and just different situations, right? So, my experience with this, which was it starts off with denial. So you have to be willing to accept it. So I was in denial for a long time until I was faced and forced to face a situation with my own child, where he has a diagnosis of autism. Yet that also carries over into other reasons, and it was as if he suffered it at first because of trauma, um, because of a situation he may have come up in, hearing different arguments and all of that. Yet with his situation, it was basically receiving. He was fine until he received like an overdose of the wrong shots or anything. So I'm not trying to turn this into a vaccination type thing, but after that, he kind of withdrew. They acknowledged that he had had the wrong one a couple of times. I think the DTaP, and he withdrew. but we were also told that he would never ever speak. And it took a while. I never accepted it. I did, however, got very stressed out about it, and I left school and I left my job to make sure that I taught him as much as I can so he can be able to be stable on his own once he goes into adulthood. And eventually, after a series of working with him, months went by, and then my child was able to start speaking, start talking. Um, so how this goes into the mental um, disorder part of it was as he started talking, he started having more confidence with himself. So I started noticing that. But I didn't pay attention to any of the anxiety that was building up on my own because I was with another child developing as well. So there was some anxiety building up, some frustration and worry about what's going to happen this time. And then the next time there was another child after that. So there was a series of things that built up, a series of pressures that were placed upon me as well, um, with this newfound motherhood and life changing things that was happening because I felt like I had goals and aspirations, right? Because I was always musically inclined and mathematically inclined and had dreams of building, different type of things um, for these children. So that was one part of the mental things when you're not accepting and not being aware of how things are affecting you, yourself personally, mentally. So there's a movie I can relate because I always throw out movies that can help you relate. And the movie, I believe, is called The Sixth Sense. You can look it up. It's called The Sixth Sense, where Bruce Willis plays this character where he's the one who would see quote unquote ghosts or spirits or help them go to where they're supposed to go. So not see spirits, he was like a psychiatrist, I think. So he was helping this child who saw things. So this child saw spirits and he saw, that were caught in between where they're supposed to go. So long story short, the at the end of the day, he thought he was a child psychiatrist trying to help him mentally, and he was withdrawn from life itself. He never faced the fact of he never really accepted the fact of loss of losing, I guess, his wife or a situation he was going in. So the thing about the movie and the thing about the point I'm trying to reach is at the end of the movie, basically Bruce Willis, the child actually helped Bruce Willis realize that he's actually the spirit that he sees because the child, says that I can see dead people. So at the end of the thing, Bruce Willis realizes that while he was trying to help this child mentally, the child was actually helping him also realize some things mentally which allowed him to accept that he was the spirit that the child saw. He was the spirit that the child was trying to help and trying to that he saw in his head. He was the dead spirit that the child saw that would, was not going to where it was supposed to go. It was stuck. He was heartbroken. He was so hurt that all this time he's thinking he's supposed to help someone else, but he never reached out to help himself and to accept himself. So at the end of the day, it was he himself that needed deliverance. It was he himself that could not that would not face the memories, the tragedies that caused him to accept his own death, even. And until then, I think he wasn't able to be set free. So with that said, sometimes we're not capable. It's not that we're not capable. I believe sometimes what I learned is to accept that sometimes it's your own tragedies that you're not facing. It was my own tragedy that I was not facing uh, to accept. So accepting mental illness is a huge thing denial is the first thing that must be fought. I was in denial about my son's autism, and then later on, there was a diagnosis of him possibly having schizoaffective disorder. They never really define exactly which one it is, but it led to a series of us experiencing traumatic events, watching him harm himself, seeing him change, like to see a person change from the sweetest thing to the most violent thing, kind of raging out like I'd say a change like the Incredible Hulk. Like you're this sensitive being who just focuses, and then when the slightest thing sets you off, there's this rage, this uncontrollable rage that's hard to penetrate. It takes a specific person to penetrate through that to get you to calm down and return back to normalcy. So with that, there were a lot. And even through that, I still couldn't see. I wouldn't face it. I was like, well, it's just anger, or it's just frustration, things like that. And so it got to a point where he himself started expressing, I need this help. I need help, please. And so finally, I just sat down because I was always there communicating with him, always advocating for him, supporting him, fighting for his rights, everything. Always had to be the one standing by him when no one else will. So there was one moment where we got some clarity. There was some music playing as well. We had finally got some clarity. I wanted to play some music as well, but I'll say that later. So we had finally got to a clear point, and he looked me in my eyes, dead smack into my eyes. I'd never gotten that look before. And I asked him, "Do you hear things? Do things bother you? Do you feel a lot of noise in your head sometimes?" And he said, "Yes." And he said it with a finally type of thing, like someone paying attention. They understand. Yes, I do. Yes. And he said it like that. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, is it like talking is noise? He's like, it feels like pressure. It feels like a lot of noise that I can't explain. And with that, that's when I still didn't know exactly what to do. I started looking at resources, trying to figure out ways to find out how I could help him. And then right before things were about to turn around and start the process, that's when the COVID hit. And there was no way to go to hospitals or anything. Clinics, they were reluctant to let people through because they were trying to define what this was. During that time, I had, I think, the first series of COVID, before they named it, there was a moment when I contracted it. And I think that made him nervous. It made me nervous as well, because it was strong. And my situation lasted about 3 months. Not, it lasted about 3 to 4 months. Um, so I had to develop a lot of things all over again. The ability to walk, my stomach was really messed up and everything. And we were given like the first type of uh, antibodies, like antibiotics and different stuff like that. So after that, uh, when things started opening back up, um, right before it was just weird, like right right before his birthday, that's when we experienced the worst outburst he ever had. It was uncontrollable. He would not stop, and unfortunately, authorities had to get involved, and that was my first time starting to accept it. But it broke me down so much. It broke me down so much. I had never cried like that, crying like a baby, shivering and everything. It really broke me to see him being carried away like that. It was as if, wow, I don't want my child to be another statistic. And with all that, and then what really was stressful was the fact that it was explained of his condition, a diagnosis of autism, but When they arrived, it was like guns on holsters, about 6 people, because he's not a small guy, he's a muscular guy, because I had always had him training. He would voluntarily do push-ups, sit-ups, just a lot of exercise to keep himself in shape. And we had never experienced anything where he was worried about issues, because then they said that it was blood sugar issues and everything afterwards. But that was after the first, after his hospitalization, of which they would not allow me to come see him either, which was weird. They kept my rights away because they kept him there, and then a week later he turned 18. So they denied my rights as a parent and as his legal guardian. I was getting guardianship at the same time. So he, a lot of frustration built up because I was hearing from nurses that he was asking for his family, asking for his mom. This was a scary situation for him. But by the time of all the different medications and everything, he had forgotten what happened. And he was started on a very strong dose of medication. And at first, after he finally was released, after I got authorities and different things involved, after him being kept for like over a month in the hospital, it was just, mm, it was quiet. The drugs actually just kept him asleep mostly. So as a mother, it builds up anxiety in you, it builds up frustration. Sometimes you are scared, like as far as the mental disorder of it. I actually, there was a fear, like it was an anxiety, like we would be waiting to see what would tick him off, what would, you know, is it really over? Because there was still really no diagnosis. It was just that he was put on meds first because there was no doctor to really evaluate him to find out exactly what it was, to find out if there was just episodes of things that teenagers were experiencing because of the lockdowns and all of this being shut down. So the thing with the first disorder, they call a mental disorder, which is the autism. The thing of the first thing is that there's a schedule that they're used to there when they're used to doing certain things a certain way. So when it's not being followed, like their structure schedules and everything, they do get frustrated. So this is going on for like over a year, and the favorite places you're used to going to, and at least getting that fresh breath of air. He's used to going outside, jogging a certain time, playing ball, going to the parks, different things like that. So all of this was being shut down for some time. It affected him. It affected the whole world. It's still affecting a lot of us now. So, so the key point I'm trying to stick to is how it affects you. The realities of the mental disorder, the order of your mental, how your mind is receiving things, accepting things, reacting to life and love. So the love was him reaching out, accepting that okay, he's going to need some help, because I still was in denial a little bit, even with the medication, until I just saw that okay, I just watched him kind of like beat himself to a pulp, and a lot of people kept saying that's not normal, and I finally faced the fact that that is not normal. It isn't. So I finally allowed, I finally just let go. Um, with a lot of support from the hospital, they did explain to me that it is a hard decision. A lot of families fail to accept, and it hurts a lot. Um, so we finally accepted it, and he finally started getting some of the help he needed. But the first part of the help was, the medication. So I guess that was the main thing. But his whole thing was that all he needed to do was get out, because he wouldn't even face the fact that he possibly needed medication. So after the first dose of meds, they were too strong. They caused adverse reactions, with my son running outside, taking off all of his clothes and running down the street and all of that. So the reason I'm mentioning this, like I said, is there's someone else who probably experiencing this and probably don't understand what it is or can't fully accept what it is as a mental disorder, and that this person, whether you love them or a family member, that they actually need help. They need help. And as much as we think that if we love them enough, that that is enough help, if you're not getting them any mental help, any help, some of these diagnoses and some of these situations require some form of therapy, whether it's medical therapy, medicine, medication, or whatever type of therapy you want to use. It requires some sort of therapy, something that works for that individual person. And so his meds were recalibrated. We, at the same time, um, I was experiencing things too and still holding it in. I would not express how I felt. It was causing anxiety, poor decision making, um, just nervousness and paranoia. So, with that said, we just went from medication to medication until there was something that kind of finally worked. And what I learned was the medication, as much as I was against it, the medication he was prescribed, I noticed a change. The medication and or therapy, as it's called, gave him an opportunity to stop feeling what he was feeling or hearing what he was hearing, to be able to face himself and understand what he was doing, what he was creating. And so it does something to the nervous system, I guess, or the mental system from what I observed. This is only from my observation, which I'm assuming is one of the number one things, the factors that a doctor would use to diagnose a patient. To They would study the patient, and that would be what they would use to diagnose a patient. That is what I'm assuming. So by my observation of him 24 hours a day, almost every day of the year, versus him going to observe him uh, probably for a week's time, but they have more insight on it. So by me observing how the medication was affecting him, I did notice that there was more communication, there was more openness. He was able to see, so he was able to recognize that, wow, when I was angry, I did that. I have to correct that. I can't be doing this. Oh no, it's wrong. No, I do not hate you. I do not, this is not wrong. I am not evil. I'm not stupid. I am not, because a lot of those things are what he was telling himself. I am not things that was being told to him in school, bullied and all of that. So he started to say these things, and I started to see him become more stable mentally, more stable mentally. Sometimes they have meltdowns because even the meds can be have side effects, which is probably why they I don't know if they recommend them as a lifetime. Some people go throughout their life having to take them, and some can actually use them to recover from the traumatic experience that caused them to 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 become extremely in the first place. And the reason I say extremely is because, like I said, it appears like the world, like everyone has some level, but some are more stable than others. So as he became more stable, I finally had a breakdown. I broke down. I broke down, and it's laughable now because looking back on it, I can like laugh at myself, like, wow, the things you have come through, the things you have survived and went through. Ooh, wow. To face yourself. I finally had to face that there's a diagnosis for what was wrong. And when I faced it after seeing it, I had to see it through another person's eyes. I had to see it and had to feel it And now I trust it and believe it for what it is, for what it is. So when I finally saw it for what it is, I just I couldn't believe it at first. I couldn't believe it, that all of that trauma, all of that stress, all of that built in pain and everything, it can cause you to become mentally unstable. It really can. And if you do not seek help or seek someone that can support you or that can care for you, that can understand, it can get worse. It can get worse. I, as other many women, single mothers, after my divorce, did not seek help, did not really have friends around to talk to. I shut things out. And with that shutting out, I also accepted the wrong type of environment, the wrong type of people calling themselves friends and everything that fed me nothing but a bunch of negativity, which added to my insecurity. I did not recognize my self-esteem. Self-esteem meaning that I was allowing things to happen to myself from different people. You know, my logic would tell me this person is not telling you the right thing or not right for you or and all of this. I was allowing things to happen to myself. But I was delusional at the same time. I thought it was love. So I was looking for affection because of this mental instability and not searching within. I felt like it was something wrong with everyone else except for me. I kind of knew that there was something. I kind of knew I was hurting, but I was afraid to reach out because I felt no one would understand and no one would accept me uh, with the issues that I was having at the time. So that was another important component. Um, and it took a long time to deal with it and accept it. And honestly, some of the things I'm learning, I'm accepting just now. I'm learning it now, because it's an ongoing, not really battle. It's an acceptance that this is a part of this life that we're living, and the best way to be in it is to keep motivated, stay positive, surround yourself by things that influence you and motivate you and add to your life for your mental stability so that you can be successful. It was nothing that really affected, it didn't get worse to the point where it really affected a lot of things, but it allowed me to be able to recognize the road that I was going down. And if I would have kept going down, it would have been uncontrollable to where I would have had to really seek medical help. So my son's situation, a lot of people say you can read a lot of stories online, Google them. It'll tell you that a lot of mothers who are dealing with a child diagnosed with autism, they claim that it suffers them a lot. They change. It's not just that situation. I believe they have. It's a uh, taking care of them allows you to realize some things within yourself because you have to be very patient and nurturing. And it allows you to see some things in yourself, some insecurities in yourself. And with all the tragic that led to, all the abuse that you caused on yourself, where you're feeling like you're not good enough, you add too much pressure on yourself. I was adding too much pressure, saying I have to do all of this. I have to, focus on just making so much money and everything to help my children. I'm by myself. I got to prove everyone wrong. I got to prove I can do it. I got to prove I can do it alone. I got to prove I can do it this way, that way, that way. And before long, it can be consuming. It can be overwhelming. So to all you single mothers out there as well, single fathers out there as well, I commend you. I ask you to keep going and keep staying strong because I empathize with you. I understand how it can be a lot at times. Even those who don't have children, if you don't have children, just surviving, just dealing with how this world, the things that the world deals with you, just with how we all interact with each other because Everyone has suffered some sort of trauma, even the ones that have the silver spoons in their mouth or whatever. There's some form of trauma that we all are putting on one another as we interact with one another. So it still affects us all. And if you don't reach out, get some sort of help. Help does not mean necessarily that you need mental help or go to the doctor. Most mental help is just support. And even when my child gets mental help and everything, it's mainly a person that supports, a person who understands. That's what support is, who can understand. And most of the time, the medical doctors, they understand to a point where they can medically diagnose you and they can medicate you or give you something that can help, an alternative way that can help you understand. But if it's gotten to a point where it's uncontrollable and you're hurting yourself or want to hurt others, sometimes they will feel like it needs to be medically controlled, meaning by medication or a facility that can constantly uh, be there to reinforce your thoughts, to keep your thoughts on task, because it's mostly what you're thinking of yourself and what you're thinking on the inside that's causing this. So I really empathize. I really, I really feel the pain from those that are suffering in that way, and those for all of us suffering from that. And I really hope and pray that you get the help you deserve, the help that you need, the therapy that you need, the support that you need. Get you a support group. If you find someone that can love you through that, allow it to go through, allow yourself to be loved, allow yourself to let that enter into your heart, into your mind. Because the thing about it that I used to worry about is so many questions like, how will, what if something happens to me? Who will be there to support my son? Or will um, a relationship that he wants to be in, because he constantly talks about that, he speaks about how many children he's going to have and all that. Will he be accepted for him? Or will he be mistreated, misused? So that is one of my fears as a parent of someone struggling with that mental, I don't like calling it a disorder or whatever, but some things I just have to accept. Will someone love him through that? Will they accept him? Because the thing about it is, what I've watched is he gets insecure. He's worried about that. He doesn't say it, express it because he's still a young man. So he still has his pride. So he's still worrying about, will the opposite sex, will he be accepted? Will someone actually love him for him when he's going through his changes? Or will it be a turnoff all the time? Will they be patient? You know? And while we all are going through these things, I always got to mention evolving for love, evolving from love, love evolution. That's one of my main things. Like I said, I'm not the psychiatrist. I'm not here to deliver none. I am here basically solely speaking from experience and experience. Experience is a good teacher. So, from experience, my thing to everyone around this world is to don't let it affect your relationships, your positive relationships, people that do believe in you and people that are not feeling, whether they feel sorry for you or not, you'll know the difference. And even if so, accept that, carry on with that, believe in that. The more you allow yourself to open up and be yourself, the more I allow myself to open up and be myself, I got to keep the perspective on me so people don't think that I'm trying to be a know it all and judgmental. The more I allow myself to open up and receive and be myself, the happier I started to feel, the more I love myself and started to have more confidence, believed in myself all over again, and started remembering who I was before these tragic events hit me. I started to remember what true love really meant, and I started to receive it and accept it for what it is and believe in it again and again and again because it is going to keep going on. It's infinite, infinite knowledge and infinite love. So that is what it is. That is my experience. Please, I hope since all of us are going through all of this, there should not be not a soul that is sitting up here judging anyone for how they're behaving with certain things. We are suffering. We have suffered. Some have gotten help, some have not. Some have received and acknowledged what's going on, some is not. But for those who are, um, I send my gratitude to you and I say thank you. You're doing a great job. You're doing a wonderful job. You're awesome and continue to be awesome. This is just my experience. I am still working on getting my son the best help he can get. He was just hospitalized again, um, unfortunately, due to some of the side effects. Um, and and it hurts sometimes because it'll get to the point where sometimes you may feel like you don't want to be here. And for those that feel like that, I am so sorry that you feel like that. I am so sorry, and I wish much love to you. You know, for those that feel like you're not accepted or that no one will accept you, yes, there is. Don't give up. Hope, don't give up. I know it may feel like it's easier for you to get your life over with. I support those. I hope that you don't feel that's the easiest way is to just go out. But I am no one to judge. I can only tell you that you are loved and you are appreciated. Appreciate your life. I have literally experienced and watched my own want to take their life. So I understand and empathize with you how this may hurt. The noise, the hurt, the pain, the memories you have inside that cause you to feel like life is worthless. But it's not, it's someone out there that can love you and accept you. You still have life in you to where you can create some beautiful moments. And that is what I'm going to fight for with mine. And I hope and pray that you continue to fight with yours. The life that you have, appreciate it and love it. And reach deep down inside and find your true self. I know it's easier said than done, but you can, I believe you can do it. I believe you can fight in there and you can find yourself. You can find the light inside you. You can fight your way through. You can. You will. Just keep believing. You will. As we continue to pray for one another, just speak good things, speak healing. We speak healing mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Speak healing to our minds, our bodies, our souls. Speak healing. Disregard any malice, any malicious thoughts, any negative energy, any negative thoughts. Speak healing. Speak healing against any weapons that are aimed towards you, even if it's from yourself. Speak healing to those weapons that you are aiming. Don't allow self destruction to enter. There is no weapon that can form against you. It just won't work. please fight. Fight for survival. Please, you are not alone. Please allow someone to open up. Please fight for the love you deserve and that you have. I said I wouldn't get emotional. And I want to keep this video on here for those. You can leave some comments if you want. You need someone to talk to. You can leave information. You have websites or pages. If you want to join with each other, you can leave the information. Uh, I have not been able to um, post anything on there. But if you leave any comments or information, I can be able to share with you my pages that I have for us to connect on if you want. But this video is just, I hope it inspires someone and motivates someone to keep going. Stay liberated, stay inspired. That's the best thing I can say based on my experience. And thank you for watching. Peace and love.